You watch that massive truck merge effortlessly, no clutch, no hesitation. Looks like progress, right? You'd think every driver would want that. But ask a 30-year veteran, and they're still choosing the 18-gear stick shift over the computer. It's not stubbornness. It's because somewhere out on the open road, that smart transmission is going to freeze up on a moment it can't read. So, what does 3 decades behind the wheel know that a computer still doesn't? How do these two systems work? To really get why these old-school drivers are pushing back, we need to take a quick look at what is actually happening under the hood. In a manual transmission, a setup like the Eaton Fuller Road Ranger that dominated American highways for decades, you are the gearbox. You press the clutch, select the ratio release, and the engine's power flows directly to the wheels through exactly the gear you chose, in an 18-speed configuration that gives you 18 distinct points of control, each one available the moment you decide you need it. An automated manual transmission, or AMT, keeps the same mechanical gearbox underneath, but hands the shifting to a computer. Sensors read your engine speed, road speed, throttle position, and load, and actuators physically move the clutch and gear lever based on what the algorithm decides is optimal. Your inputs shrink to a gas pedal and a brake. Where did automation actually win? Make no mistake, the big truck companies did not build these computer systems just for fun. They did it because on normal days, the technology actually works incredibly well. On a flat interstate run with a consistent load, the computer shifts at the precise moment that saves the most fuel, something a fatigued driver at hour 9 of a 10-hour shift isn't always going to match. Large fleets adopted AMTs because they solved a real business problem. New drivers get up to speed faster. Training costs drop. Fuel consumption stabilizes across an entire fleet, regardless of who's behind the wheel. The North American Council for Freight Efficiency documented fuel improvements of 1 to 3% on typical highway runs. That number sounds small until you multiply it across hundreds of trucks running hundreds of thousands of miles a year. And if a driver earns their CDL using an automatic or AMT-equipped vehicle, their license carries a restriction, FMCSA's E code, that bars them from operating any commercial vehicle with a manual transmission. For fleet operators running modern equipment, that restriction never matters. For the driver, it quietly closes doors. But the smooth highway is only half the story, and the real trouble begins the moment the road stops being nice and predictable.
What's the difference of an automatic transmission and the 10-speed? The number one advantage of having automatic is pretty much driver comfort. It's easy to drive. You don't have to be paying attention to changing the high. The second advantage of an automatic is going to be fuel efficient. The automatics are designed to get the best fuel mileage, and it can help the company save money. And if the company's saving money, you're going to make more money to get. You should. The third thing I would say would be safety. I believe it's safe to drive an automatic. A lot of people may disagree with me on that, but the point is, it's less distractions you have to worry about. You can just concentrate on driving.
If you get stuck in a traffic jam like this and you're having to push that clutch in or hold it in,
you're gonna wear your knee out.
Your whole leg's gonna be sore.
I agree. So I would say maintenance is better because you're not having to worry about drivers not changing properly. Let's talk about the disadvantages. Okay, the higher cost for a company to swap from manual to automatics. They are more expensive. Disadvantage to the automatic. This would be advantage to having the also disadvantage of the automatic is at the same time maintenance might be cheaper, but the repairs are going to be costly when they do mess up. You have a lot more sensors, a lot more. It's not like old school. You're going to have certain mechanic shops only that can work on it. There are a lot of computerized, so costly repairs. That would be a disadvantage of having automatic. And also driver control. A lot of people say that driver control in certain weather conditions, you as a human maybe have better control shifting gears, getting up the mountings and wanting to put it in lower gear that maybe the computer don't. That's what I've got back with feedback, but overall.
So the industry made a logical call, but did it make the right one? And why would a driver with 30 years of experience distrust a system that works for everyone else? The answer isn't in the efficiency data, it's in what happens when the road stops being predictable, and that's exactly where we're going next. Where does the algorithm fall short? Put a loaded 40-ton rig at the bottom of a 10% grade in the Rockies and watch what happens with each system. The experienced manual driver reads the slope before the climb starts, selects a gear that keeps the engine in its power band, and pulls steadily to the crest without a single gear change. The AMT reads the engine loading up as the grade increases and commands an upshift, the mathematically logical response to falling RPMs, and exactly the wrong call when you need sustained torque to crest a hill. Power drops, the truck bogs. The driver fights the system back into a lower gear, and the whole sequence can repeat 3 or 4 more times before the summit. Drivers gave this a name, gear hunting, and it wore out equipment, burned extra fuel, and made mountain routes genuinely unpredictable. Flip the situation to a descent, and the problem inverts. An experienced driver on a manual selects a lower gear before the grade steepens, lets the engine absorb the momentum, and keeps the service brakes cool for emergencies. Early AMTs read a lifted throttle as a fuel-saving opportunity and shifted up, adding speed to a truck that was already gaining it on a downgrade. Drivers responded by switching to manual override mode, which meant pulling their attention off the road to fight a system that was supposed to be helping them. On winter descents, that lag wasn't an inconvenience. It was a genuine safety gap. What does ownership change about this? Beyond the terrifying moments on frozen hills, there is another very practical reason these veteran drivers want the computer out of their trucks, and it comes down to dollars and cents. Cold weather added a mechanical dimension the brochures didn't address. First-generation AMT systems on American trucks used compressed air to actuate the clutch and execute every shift. Pneumatic systems and hard freezes are a difficult combination. A small seal failure could take the transmission offline entirely. The Road Ranger, in the same conditions, kept working because there was nothing sophisticated enough to fail. For owner-operators, the maintenance maths sharpened all of this into something concrete. AMT actuators, the units physically executing every shift, typically need replacements somewhere between 300,000 and 500,000 miles, and the bill runs $3,000 to $5,000 or more, often requiring dealership diagnostics on top of parts and labor. A manual clutch disc driven with care can outlast that interval, with a full replacement coming in under $2,000 at an independent shop. For a driver who owns one truck and has no backup vehicle, a transmission actuator failure on a Tuesday doesn't just mean a repair bill. It means no revenue until the truck moves again. Simplicity isn't a preference for these drivers, it's a financial strategy. What are drivers actually describing? If you talk to these drivers at a truck stop, they will tell you this fight is about something much deeper than just repair bills. To them, driving a manual is like speaking a language. They feel the way 40 tons settles into a wet corner and hear the exact engine note before any gauge registers it. A manual gearbox keeps that conversation open, letting every shift respond to what the driver hears and feels. An automatic transmission closes that conversation because the computer decides everything for you. This is not just a complaint about technology. It is about what happens when real human skill gets engineered away, leaving drivers helpless, when sudden ice or unexpected mountain grades actually test them. Why did manual earn its place back? So after 2 decades of trying to force computers into every single cab, the industry is finally waking up to a simple truth. The manual transmission didn't survive because the industry forgot to replace it. It survived because in the conditions where the margin for error compresses to nothing, the thing with the fastest response time and the most complete picture of what's happening isn't the algorithm, it's the person who's been paying attention for 30 years. Every time your car merges onto an interstate next to a loaded semi, there's a decision being made in that cab about the grade ahead, the gap behind the feel of the load. Whether that decision belongs to a computer or the hands on the wheel depends on the truck, the route, and what the driver believes is at stake. Now you know why some of them don't leave that decision to anyone else. If there's something you walk past every day and wonder about, drop it in the comments. We read every single one, and the best suggestions make it into future videos. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.